Zoom. Shing. Shoo. G'day guys, and welcome back to Cities Skylines Down Under. We've been working on the small town of Stockton for the last month and a bit, and this is going to be the last episode working on this project and on this map. We're going to be working on the Broken Hill side of things, getting into the deserts of Australia, and then we'll be back on the east side. So kind of taking it in turns, which is sort of the idea behind this series. Kind of jumping back and forth between different maps, working on different sides of Australia, and working in sort of small projects. So the next project, well, I'll get into that a little bit further on in the episode. And just to get into what I'm building, we're going to be building some parks that are going to continue all around the little town of Stockton we've been building, and going to be kicking things off using this ferry terminal, because this little town is connected. It's not an island, it is connected to the mainland. Will be connected to the city, but I think like for immediate access, like the best form of public transport for these people over in this town is to catch the ferry to the actual main CBD of the city. So this ferry terminal is like really important. It doesn't get huge amounts of usage just yet, but when we do jump back into Mullumbin, the east coast, we will be working on the CBD side of things, which is super exciting. If you have any ideas for the CBD, I did ask you guys a couple of weeks ago what I should be doing for the CBD, the main city of this map. I'm leaning towards like somewhat of a biggish city, like skyscrapers and things like that, but not going like as big as Sydney or Melbourne. Thinking kind of like more around like Perth size or Adelaide size, something like that. So let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions. I haven't started building that yet. I'm a little while away from building that, but I am quite excited because I think we're going to really see this map come to life when we start building that. So yeah, this terminal is really important. It's going to be really great to see people coming from this small town via ferry, going over to the main city side of things. And, I think it's going to get a lot of usage, this ferry. I actually go into some of the town settings, like the policies, and made it so that people prefer taking ferry transport. So hopefully that encourages people to use that more than driving around. It will be technically faster catching a ferry in terms of the game, so I think we probably will see some people actually using it. So that'll be very, very cool to actually see that operating and getting some usage. And I am like, this is exactly how Stockton looks. I mean, there is a ferry terminal here. The ferry is a bit different. I'm using a different model of ferry. I couldn't find the exact one, but where the ferry terminal is pretty much exactly in the same spot. Same sort of layout, I guess, but a little bit of a difference in it as well. I didn't want to copy it completely. And the real life town of Stockton has this park that goes all the way around the town, which is really nice because it means that you can pretty much just shoot in any direction along the streets and you'll hit some sort of park on the water, which is really awesome. And these parks are also surrounded by all this water, and shooting up and down these waterways are these massive cargo ships that are transporting all this coal that has been mined within Newcastle. And of course, that sort of spawned the idea that, the Broken Hill map in this series and this map are intertwined because, all the ore is being mined from my Broken Hill map and then being transported to the Mullumbin map. And then you'll be seeing, basically from source to export. And, that's sort of the idea behind this series, is to have two maps going and to have a real focus on exporting minerals in Australia, because that side's kind of interesting. I find it quite fascinating, and also just the general vibe of Australia. That's just something that's super nostalgic for me and super fun. And thanks so much for all the comments and feedback over the last few months as I've been working on this little town. We have gone for the name Stockton. I've copied the name from the town that I'm taking inspiration from. I had quite a lot of people suggesting just to leave the town name as Stockton, so you know, that kind of makes sense. The map is called Mullabin, and we will be working on other little towns within this map as well, so definitely shoot me through some comments and suggestions of places that you think I should cover as well. I'm getting a lot of suggestions from Port Macquarie and Tasmania and Hobart, and even all the way up in Darwin, like lots of people saying, hey, check out this area, check out that area. It's awesome, it's really cool. It's been really fun, like incorporating kind of like lots of different ideas of Australia into 2 different maps. So it's worked out really well to have be working on those 2 maps as well, because it kind of like fits into the general theme of it. And what I'm working on at the moment is this car park, and it's kind of like a biggish car park, and that's because a lot of people would be going from their houses within Stockton, driving to this car park and then taking the ferry to work. Fingers crossed that's what they end up doing within the game. I can actually see them doing that. I think that'd be something that is quite possible, and I do always love it when you actually see the game functioning how the city would really function in real life. And because we are going to be working on a lot of small towns on this map, and not like the largest city, I guess, I think there's going to be like a lot of room to actually see the city functioning how it should be. So that should be pretty cool, you know, as opposed to Springwood, which is just far too big. I mean, I love it, but it's just far too big. It's not really functioning how any city should be working within the game. It's far beyond that now. Whereas this series is still quite fresh, and I'm seeing a lot of the game mechanics actually working properly. Whereas in Springwood, they're just like totally broken. It's totally just for aesthetics, which is no, I shouldn't say that. It's not totally for aesthetics. It's still quite nice. But in this series, it's been pretty silky smooth up until building this town, I guess. So you might see me starting to build some of these parks, and I wanted to leave the parks around here to be quite open. They are generally really open around Stockton. They're not strapped for space around here. We're not talking about in the city. This is just pure open space, so lots of room for these parks, and especially around the waterfront. So using a lot of trees and lots of you know, a lot of the features that have been introduced within the Park Life update. Actually, you can see me using that feature right now. I'm going through and painting down all these different parks that I've been working on over the last month, you know, including the beach and you know, these little park grounds, and even I renamed a sea break. I renamed it to Shipwreck Walk, and I named it that because that is actually the name of that sea break in Stockton, and I thought that was a pretty cool little name there. I don't know, maybe there are actual shipwrecks along there. I didn't really check. I vaguely remember my friend mentioning that because he lives out of Stockton, but I don't know, I can't really remember that 100%, but I thought that was quite a cool little name. So you know, going through naming through a lot of the different parks that sit along here, naming them different, and making sure that they're their own little separate parks rather than one giant park that goes all the way around. And the cool thing about creating parks is that people will walk along these walkways and you know, visit different things that I'm placing around, like gazebos and skate parks and you know, event spawners and benches. And it's really cool. It actually brings these parks to life, which is something that I've always wanted within the game. I've always felt like the game really lacks a bit of atmosphere in the parks. So that was kind of cool to start seeing that happen, especially in such big spaces like this. You know, still quite a lot of people wandering around, and you'll see that in the cinematics. Actually, you'll see quite a lot of cinematics at the end. I wanted to include the whole project, so you get a big idea of you know, everything we've been working on over the last few months, and you know, a good old wrap up. And I'm also using these trees just to place down some some playing fields. I didn't want to go too prop heavy. I could have dragged a whole fence around there. However, I didn't think it really needed it. I've seen a lot of these sort of like natural, I guess they're not natural, but they're just using these trees to give some sort of a perimeter for the sport, and then they can you can pretty much just like wander in and wander out. It's not like a restricted area, and it also means that you don't have to detail it quite as much. You still get the general idea, the general vibe of it, but don't actually have to worry too much about decals and fences and all the other little things that come with it. So that was cool. I'm going to use that quite a lot of other times, I think, in this series. So yeah, in the next project for DownUnder, I've actually already started building it, and this next project is going to be in Broken Hill, and this little town is based off a town that I drove through a couple of months ago when I was driving down to the snowy mountains in New South Wales. This little town is Bundina, and I'm going to, I did like a big fly over it. It didn't take much because it's only a very small town, but there are some very interesting things about that town, particularly an abandoned railway line that really fascinated me, and I did quite a lot of research and exploring over this railway line because I wanted to know more about it, and I'm going to be going through the general idea of that line in the series, and also recreating it, and going through a bit of the history and stuff like that, and also creating a bit of our own history for that, because now that it lives within the series, it can be a line that used to transport goods from, let's say, from the mine to Mullerbin, or maybe it's like a totally different railway network. That's the sort of story that we can recreate in the series. So excited for that. That project will be coming up in a few weeks' time, a little bit after this series, this project finishes. And I'll be really, really excited to get back into that. Looking forward to sharing what I've been building with you guys. But this is what I'm doing right now, and I've just built a little beach. This area in Stockton is filled with all these little beaches, and a lot of them are dog parks, and a few of them are just little areas that people can swim at or just throw a line in. There's a lot of these little areas, so because they do take a little bit of time to build, I just wanted to build one and potentially build a couple more on the other side of the river, down the track when we sort of expand into the greater region of this series. And again, like I said before, just detailing with some just trees, really. Like, I didn't want to go too crazy. The frame rate is already so bad in this little town purely because the houses are so small, and the detail on each house is pretty high, so it's like a massive concentration of props within such a small area. So the frame rate just tanked as soon as I built the suburb, which is a damn shame. And but hopefully, when I move back into the other suburbs of this series, then it's going to get kind of a bit it's not going to be quite as bad as it is over at Stockton. But yeah, I just want to keep the props just a little bit short on this little area too. But yeah, we're kind of getting towards the end. I'm really excited to see this map really start expanding out, especially when we get into the city side of things, and we start getting into the transport side of things, where we start seeing lots of big ships coming through, and the trains start coming through, and people catching the ferry from Stockton over to the city. Seeing a bit of a skyline and all the suburbs that will be sprawling out around there. And even some of the smaller towns that we're going to be getting into. Think about the small towns you drive through in Australia. They're very interesting, they're very unique, and we're going to be getting into them too. So, lots of ideas. Soon to come, I'm kind of doing a pretty cool thing where I'm uploading a video once a week of this series. A lot of them are pre-recorded. So far they've been pre-recorded, and that's super unique for me and kind of tricky to pull off every single time. But at the moment I'm doing a pretty good job of it, so that is Awesome. We're going to stay on top of that. But yeah, guys, I mean, this is the end, and we're going to be seeing some cool shots, some cool cinematics of all the builds that we've been doing over the last month and a bit. Hope you've been enjoying the series so far. I've been really enjoying it. Let me know what your thoughts are of this map and this build. If you've enjoyed it, things to add in the map in future episodes, do let me know. But yeah, that's it, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next episode. See you later.